And now we come to this ship. And so there's a lot of decisions we have to make about the materials on here because I want this to have a lot of different textures and materials and things like that. So, for example, I want to be glass and the border around it to be maybe just like a solid color. But I may want metal texture with even paint or designs or something on the ship. Maybe I want to make this feel like this has got like some burning on it on the thruster. So there's a lot of things I might want to do with this. So I'm going to have to unwrap it, and this is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we're going to go through the entire process together. So let's start with the door. I'm going to select the door, and I'm going to go to my camera-based options here, because you'll see right now that the door UVs make no sense. That doesn't. I have no idea what that's even about. So I'm just going to go to UVs, and I'm going to do camera based, and we're going to do this automatic unfold on this door. So if I just go to object mode, and I'm going to isolate it so we can focus mainly on it. What this tool does is, unlike automatic unwrapping, because I could do that. I could go to UVs automatic. It's going to break it up into its pieces, and then I could choose like certain edges to try to weld back together, and I can do all that, and I'll get something that's not terrible, right? But there's a much easier way, and so again, we go to UVs, camera based, and really all I need to do right now is tell it where I want the seam to be between these UVs. So it's kind of the opposite. I'm telling you where I want the cut to be. And I want it to be all the way around this inside edge here. So I just cut that. And I'll click this button so you can kind of see what's going on here. So now I have these two UV shells, sort of the inside and the outside, but they're in a weird shape. This doesn't really make sense for UVs. If I just grab both of those shells and go modify, unfold, I'll check and make sure my options are set to unfold 3D, and I usually just reset my settings and hit apply and close. It's going to unwrap them in a way that's going to make them really easy to be textured. So I'll orient those, set up a layout, try rotating this one around. I usually just like to check too, like that faces in the bottom. Yeah, there we go. So that makes more sense. And now I can lay out the entire thing a little better. And so now the door is done. I'm probably not going to keep this layout, but I'm just going to do these one at a time, and then I'll lay them out all together. So the next piece I want to look at is one of these fins, right? So the fin is the layout. The UVs make no sense at all for this. So again, I will go UV camera based, and that's to get it all into one watertight piece. And I will isolate that. Now, if I hit 1, it'll take it to the unsmoothed version of this. And what that'll let me do is go through and select the edges where I want my seam to be a little easier. And I'll cut that off. So now again, I have UV shells. I have the 2 different UV shells now, that cap and then the sort of claw shape here. So I'm going to go on the bottom of this edge, choose this edge, and then hold shift and double click this edge, and it should select all of the edges in between, and then I can just hit cut again. And so now UV shell, select both of those, modify, unfold. And again, I may want to orient this one a little better, but that's not bad, right? And so when I lay those out, actually I'll lay it all out. There you go. That's what those UVs look like. Now, I have 2 more of these, and I could manually do that, but I'm trying to do this as efficiently as possible. I have the UVs for this object, and then this is an identical object. It just has ugly UVs. So what I'm going to do is transfer attributes from one object to another. So under that, that's under Mesh, Transfer Attributes, choose my options box, and hit Edit and reset my settings just to make sure everything is default. And you'll see by default, it's going to figure out how to transfer it based off of world space. And that will only work if these are right on top of each other. Instead, we want it to sample other things that happen to be identical, not just their placement. Right? So one of those could be UV or it could be topology, but right now I'm wanting it to look at components, like which edge is where. And so it will line up those UVs based off of this top edge and this top edge, and it will try to transfer the UVs from the first thing I had selected to the second. And hit transfer, that works really well. Look at that. So I can actually do that again. In fact, if I want to repeat the tool that I just created or just used, I can just hit the G key. And now all three of those things have UVs. Now this bottom piece down here is a little more challenging. Let's open it up and try to figure out how would we possibly unwrap this. There's so many edges, and when I try to manually go through and click them, like I want this entire top cap, it takes a long time because you have to kind of go through and manually select all of these to get your edges cut. So I'm going to try a couple of different automatic tools just to get us a starting place. First thing I'm going to do is do just an automatic, let's do automatic. And so that's going to get us close. I've actually got several pieces that are great. So UV shell for this top one, that works great. Actually, for the bottom is this little cap here. That also works great. And this ring works great. And so all of that was very useful. Some of these other pieces are a little harder to understand. And what I think we want is we want this ring inside of here, right? These pieces to all be one piece, and then we want all these other pieces to be one piece, right? So I'm going to show you the way that I would do that. First, what I would do is grab these 3 UV shells. Actually, let's just try it all. Just grab all of this, right? And we're going to do another mapping on them. We're going to do UV camera based, and what that does is it stitches them all together. So now what I have is 2 islands now, right? Those 2 things. So now I just need to figure out where I want my cut to be on those. So if I turn on my camera, it'd be nice if this were somewhere where people don't see it, maybe back here on this back edge here. So maybe I would do this edge right there. Let's see, so click that edge and we'll cut it. And then I'll go around to the inside here and do the same here with this edge, which is there. Again, I will cut that. And so now that means that these have the cuts in them that we need. I can go to my UV shells, select all of this, and do modify unfold. And it will unfold them the way it needs to be. If I hit orient, it'll orient them, layout, it'll lay them out. And so, it's a little bit confusing on why we're doing the things we're doing, but once we do them, we get good results. So it's really just figuring out how to use these tools to essentially skin this object, like unwrap it, like you would a present or something like that. So last piece we really need to focus on in here is going to be the main body of the ship. And it's a little bit more challenging. So first, I want to start breaking it up into its islands. So I'm going to go to UVs and do camera based, right? And then I'll go ahead and do a full view of that. From the inside, I want to separate the inside from the outside. And I'm going to do that just by making a cut inside this doorway. Cut all the way around that edge. And now what I should have, let's do that over there. Here we go. So I should have an inside and an outside set of UVs. I know I want the seam for both of those to kind of be down this bottom, this back half. I also know I need to cut the bottom of my ship off here. So let's go ahead and cut this out. Cut. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this top part off too. I'll sever it probably about there. Cut. Do that on the inside pieces as well. Let's see. Cut that one. And on the inside, I'll cut the floor out as well. So maybe something like all of that. Cut. And so the only thing that's really left is I need to figure out where I want my inside, like, back seam to be. And so on the inside, I'm going to double click there. I don't really want it to go all the way through the floor, so I'll start there, and I'll, yeah, let's do this. I'll double click it so I can see where it goes to. Okay, it goes to there, all the way up to the cat. I guess all I really need to deselect is this stuff on the bottom. And then I can do a cut there. I'm going to try to see if I can get roughly the same spot on the other side here. Let's see if I hit 4 where I can see it a little better. And yeah, I'm looking for this edge here on the outside. So I can double click that edge, and it will probably also try to grab some stuff inside here. I'll just need to deselect that. I think all the way up to where we cut the bottom out. Okay. And so hopefully that goes all the way to the top. I think it does. So I'll cut. And so after I've made all of those cuts, let's just see what an unfold will do for it. If I do modify, unfold. So that's gotten us really close, actually. Maybe orient those. These I would kind of like to have them rotated the other direction a little bit more. I don't mean to do it that way, but that's fine. So let's grab all that again and lay it out. And yeah, that's not bad. So, you know, is it going to give us exactly what we want? I don't know yet. But this has been not that long. I think we've been working for about 13 minutes, and I have managed to get all of the parts of the ship that I need UV unwrapped. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this into another program. So I really want to have UVs for this entire ship on one UV layout, or at least all the parts I'm going to export out. So everything except for the window trim and the glass. I'm going to do all that. And then just in this single view here, I'm going to have it lay that out for me. I do not know why it did that. Oh, let me undo that. Next thing I want to do instead is just modify, freeze my transformations, and delete my history. Cut history, and then try to do layout. There we go. I think the construction history was giving it some problems. I'm going to give it just a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, let's try this and see if we can take this into some other programs and create materials for it. So as we saw earlier with PhotoP, I could export this out and I could start making textures for it. But instead, what I'm going to do, and this is completely optional, you can make materials on whatever you want to, but I'm going to take this into Substance Painter to be exact. And so to do that, I need to export out the actual mesh. Okay. So I will say, just to recognize, these are going to come in looking a little differently because they're smooth, and the same with this. It's going to come in looking more like this, and Like they're all going to come in with a little bit rougher. Right. So we'll see what that actually does. But when I bring the textures back in here, it should be fine. So I'm going to select everything except for the trim and the glass, and I'm going to say File, Export Selection, choose my options box, and I'm going to choose FBX. And then I'm going to hit Export Selection.
Right.
And I am going to name this to Substance. We could do Ship to Substance. And Export Selection. And in the next video, we will, that should have worked, yeah. In the next video, we will open this up in Substance Painter and see what we were able to make for it.